It was a quiet Sunday morning when Mr. Scott, the Sunnyside Elementary School janitor, driven by a gnawing feeling and insistent curiosity, found himself wandering the empty halls of the school. However, the silence was broken by footsteps that weren't his own, paired with an occasional echo. Surprisingly, the janitor wasn't alone in doing his weekend rounds, as Nathaniel Scott noticed a young boy and approached him, puzzled by his presence. But when Nathaniel asked what the boy was doing there, his answer drained the blood from his face. Janitor Nathaniel Scott, Nathan for short, had gone to the school for his weekend rounds. Though he had cleaned the majority of Sunnyside Elementary School on Friday, he couldn't help but let his perfectionism take hold of him. He had that gnawing feeling that he had skipped a spot and just had to quickly check it out, not yet a clue what, or rather who, was in the school. He thought it would be a quick in and out. He believed he would quickly look around the rooms, do a quick sweep or mop if he found anything dirty, and then return home. This is what he believed would happen when he had said goodbye to his girlfriend with the promise he would get the groceries on his way back. But unbeknownst to him, it would take much longer than anticipated. He thought wrong. He had parked his car in the school's parking lot and went to the back door. It was the place where his uniform was, as he certainly wouldn't clean with things like bleach with his usual clothes. He had his own key for occasions like these, as his key smoothly went into the lock, unlocking the school. He couldn't have noticed the unlocked door. The fact that he had to go through the back door for his uniform was the sole reason he couldn't have noticed that the front door had already been unlocked. It was when he was changing that he heard it. "What the?" he whispered to himself as he heard an eerie melody bouncing off the corridor. He wasn't alone. He was certain of that. He quickly zipped up his janitor's suit as he slowly walked through the empty hallways. He could hear the echo of his footsteps. Or were they of someone else? Nathan quickly shook his head. He had to find this out fast before his paranoia got the better of him. He stopped dead in his tracks, his ears perking up at any sound. It was then that he heard it again, a soft, high-pitched voice singing a melody. He immediately recognized the tune as he had heard it before, maybe a couple of weeks ago. He had come in early and heard it while cleaning one of the many halls. It was a song. The children sang. It was a song he heard coming from the classrooms as the children were singing along with it. However, this time around, it sounded more haunting in how it bounced off the empty halls. Luckily, it did give him the general direction of where he needed to go, so he immediately set off toward the sound. He had to round a few corners, but the person singing the song was coming closer as the volume became louder. He had almost started to jog, wanting to find out the mystery of who was singing this song, and, more importantly, why they were singing it. He rounded his final corner when he suddenly hit something, or rather, someone. As he rounded the corner, he looked further ahead into the hallway. He hadn't looked down, and he had been stupid not to do so as Nathan collided with a small child. He let out a loud gasp at the impact as he immediately reached down to grab the kid, but before he could, the kid had fallen on the ground. The kid didn't make a fuss. "Shit!" Nathan cursed as he immediately crouched down to the kid's level. Surprisingly, the young boy wasn't crying as he sat on the floor. "You okay, kid?" Nathan asked, looking the kid up and down to see if he was all right. The boy nodded. "I'm okay," he quipped before standing up. The kid wanted to continue walking without a care in the world before Nathan stopped him. What was this kid doing here on a Sunday? Nathan thought. Boy's odd quest. Nathan watched, puzzled, as the boy dusted himself off and started walking again. "Hey, wait up! What are you doing here all alone?" Nathan called out, hurrying after the boy. The school was silent, except for their footsteps. The boy didn't look back, his pace steady, a determined little figure in the vast, echoing halls. Catching up, Nathan tried reasoning. "Look, it's not safe here. You should go home." But the boy was adamant. "I can't leave yet. I'm looking for something." His voice held a mix of determination and innocence. Nathan, torn between concern and curiosity, realized this wasn't going to be simple. The boy darted away, leaving Nathan no choice but to follow. Catching up, Nathan tried reasoning. "Look, it's not safe here. You should go home." But the boy was adamant. "I can't leave yet. I'm looking for something." His voice held a mix of determination and innocence. Nathan, torn between concern and curiosity, realized this wasn't going to be simple. The boy darted away, leaving Nathan no choice but to follow. Nathan noticed something odd. The boy wasn't just wandering. He was stopping by lockers, pressing his ear against them, as if listening for something. "What are you doing?" Nathan asked, genuinely baffled. The boy, focused, ignored the question, moving from one locker to another with a peculiar sense of purpose. Observing the boy's harmless, yet bizarre behavior, Nathan couldn't help but wonder, why was this kid here on a Sunday, and why the lockers? Despite the situation's strangeness, Nathan's concern for the boy's safety outweighed his urge to intervene. He kept a close eye, following at a distance as the boy continued his mysterious locker inspection. The boy's actions intrigued Nathan further. Each locker received the same treatment: a careful listen, a slight nod, and then on to the next. Nathan's curiosity piqued, questions swirling in his mind. What was the boy searching for? Why did it involve listening to lockers? Despite his confusion, Nathan followed, determined to uncover the boy's intentions, a new page in their peculiar encounter just beginning to unfold. Nathan couldn't shake off his intrigue as he followed Lucas. Each silent step seemed to draw him deeper into the mystery. "Hey, what's your name? And what exactly are you looking for?" Nathan tried again, hoping for more than just evasion. Lucas paused, glancing back with a look that suggested he was weighing his options on whether to trust Nathan with his secret. "Lucas," the boy finally replied, stopping by another locker. "And where are your parents? Why are you here alone?" Nathan asked, trying to keep his tone light. Lucas shrugged, a small frown forming as he answered, "I found a door unlocked and came in." Nathan's eyebrows shot up. An unlocked door? That wasn't right. Security was supposed to be tight, especially over the weekend. Nathan's initial concern shifted to alarm. If Lucas could wander in through an unlocked door, who else might have entered the school unnoticed? "Which door was it, Lucas?" Nathan pressed, his mind racing with the implications of a potential security breach. Lucas pointed vaguely towards the front of the school. Nathan knew he had to check it out, but didn't want to leave Lucas alone. The possibility of a security breach weighed heavily on Nathan. He glanced at Lucas, who seemed oblivious to the seriousness of the situation. "We need to get you home, Lucas. It's not safe here," Nathan insisted. But Lucas resisted, his eyes wide and earnest. "But I can't leave yet. I'm on a mission. It's really important," he pleaded, his voice conveying a mix of urgency and innocence. Lucas's plea to stay struck a chord with Nathan. Despite the alarm bells ringing in his head about security, he couldn't ignore the sincerity in Lucas's eyes. "Okay, Lucas, tell me about this mission. Why is it so important?" Nathan asked, curiosity piqued. Lucas looked relieved, ready to share his story, hinting at the gravity of his mission without revealing too much, leaving Nathan intrigued and concerned in equal measure. As they walked, Nathan's mind raced. The unlocked door meant they might not be alone in the school. Glancing at Lucas, he felt a surge of protective instinct. "We need to be careful," he said, scanning the dark corridors. The silence of the school seemed louder now, each noise magnified by the possibility of unknown visitors lurking in the shadows. "Stay close." "Lucas, stick by me," Nathan insisted, his voice firm. The thought of running into someone else in the school made him uneasy. Lucas nodded, staying close as they moved through the hallways. Nathan kept one hand on Lucas's shoulder, guiding him as they navigated the silent halls. The responsibility of keeping Lucas safe weighed heavily on him. especially now, with the threat of intruders looming. The more Nathan thought about Lucas and the unlocked door, the more he realized there was a mystery unfolding. Why was the door unlocked? Who else could be in the school? And what was Lucas's mission? These questions swirled in his head as they continued to investigate. Nathan knew they needed answers, but part of him wondered if they were ready for what they might find. Concern for their safety growing, Nathan made a decision. "We're going to check this out together, Lucas, but you have to promise to stay close." Lucas agreed, curiosity and a hint of excitement in his eyes. They proceeded with caution, Nathan leading the way. The decision to delve deeper into the mystery was made, but Nathan couldn't shake the feeling of apprehension that came with it. As they paused, Nathan turned to Lucas. "You shouldn't wander alone, especially with the school like this. It's dangerous," he scolded gently. Lucas's face showed a mix of guilt and defiance. Nathan softened his tone. "I get you have your reasons, but we need to be smart about this." Lucas nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation as they prepared to face whatever lay ahead together. As they cautiously moved forward, Lucas stayed close, suddenly mentioning Sydney in a serious tone. Nathan's ears perked up. "Who's Sydney?" he asked, intrigued by this new piece of the puzzle. Lucas hesitated, then shared that Sydney was part of the reason he was here today. Nathan's interest deepened, realizing this was more than just a simple visit to the school. Their thorough search of the nearby classrooms and dark corners revealed no signs of anyone else. The school felt even more deserted, the mystery of the situation deepening with every empty room they checked. "Looks like it's just us," Nathan murmured, puzzled. Lucas nodded, looking around nervously, as if expecting someone or something to emerge from the shadows. "So who is Sydney, and what's this about stopping him?" Nathan pressed, his curiosity piqued. Lucas took a deep breath and explained that Sydney was a classmate who had said something alarming. According to Lucas, Sydney's words had hinted at a dangerous plan for the school. Nathan listened, his skepticism mingling with a growing concern over the implications of Lucas's story. Lucas's explanation came slowly, his words weighed down by the seriousness of the situation. "I overheard Sydney say something scary about the school," Lucas confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Nathan urged him to continue, sensing the gravity of what Lucas might reveal. As Lucas recounted his eavesdropped conversation with Sydney, Nathan's skepticism began to wane, replaced by a mounting concern for what might be at stake. As the details of Lucas's story unfolded, Nathan's concern deepened. The thought of someone endangering the school was alarming. "We need to take this seriously," Nathan decided, his protective instincts kicking in. The possibility of a threat, as described by Lucas, necessitated immediate action. Nathan knew they couldn't dismiss Lucas's fears, especially now that the safety of the school and its occupants might be in jeopardy. Nathan nodded, taking Lucas's warnings to heart. "All right, Lucas, we need to be smart about this. Let's figure out our next steps carefully," he said. The weight of responsibility pressed on Nathan as he considered the seriousness of the situation. Together, they began to plan their approach, aware that time was of the essence and that they needed to act with caution and determination. Lucas tried to explain further. "Sydney said he'd blow up the school this weekend," he stammered, struggling to convey the gravity of the situation. Nathan listened intently, but found it hard to piece together the story from Lucas's fragmented explanation. The challenge of understanding through the lens of a child's perspective made it difficult for Nathan to grasp the full picture. Lucas's next words added a new layer of urgency. "It's in Sydney's locker," he said, worry etching his face. Nathan's heart raced. The thought of something dangerous hidden within the school was terrifying. They needed to find that locker, but how? Without knowing which locker was Sydney's or having a key, their task seemed nearly impossible. The possibility of an explosive device hidden somewhere in the school made Nathan's fear tangible. He looked at Lucas, then at the rows of lockers lining the hall. "We don't know which locker is Sydney's, Lucas, and I don't have the keys to any of these," he said, frustration and fear mingling in his voice. The magnitude of their predicament was overwhelming, casting a shadow of dread over their mission. Despite the obstacles, Lucas's conviction stirred Nathan into action. "We have to do something, Nathan. We can't just wait," Lucas insisted, his eyes burning with a mix of fear and determination. Nathan took a deep breath, bolstered by Lucas's courage. "You're right, Lucas. Let's figure this out together." They were ready to take on the challenge, propelled by the urgency of the danger they believed was hidden within the school. Nathan and Lucas began their mission with a shared determination. They split up the tasks, Nathan focusing on the logistics while Lucas tried to remember any details that might lead them to Sydney's locker. The silent hallways of the school seemed to echo their resolve as they moved with purpose, aware of the gravity of what they were trying to prevent. Nathan swiftly moved to lock the school's main entrance. "If there's a threat here, we can't let it out or anyone else in," he explained to Lucas. The click of the lock sounded unusually loud in the quiet school. This action was a precaution, an attempt to contain any potential danger within the school while they searched for Sydney's locker. As they resumed their search, Nathan voiced a troubling thought. The person who opened the door might still be here. It could be Sydney, he mused, his eyes scanning their surroundings. The possibility added tension to their mission, turning their search into a more cautious endeavor as they looked out for any sign of Sydney or anyone else who might be lurking in the school. After finding no obvious signs of anyone in the school, Lucas had an idea. "Let's listen to the lockers," he suggested. Nathan was skeptical, but agreed. They quietly moved down the rows of lockers, pressing their ears against the cold metal doors. Most were silent, offering no clues to their urgent quest. Nathan was about to dismiss the idea as a fluke when Lucas suddenly whispered, "I hear something." Nathan rushed over to Lucas's side, listening intently to the locker Lucas was next to. At first, he heard nothing, but then, faintly, there was something, a sound that shouldn't be there. Nathan's skepticism turned to alarm as he realized Lucas might have just led them to the clue they were desperately searching for. The ticking sound from the locker sent a chill down Nathan's spine. He feared the worst, envisioning scenarios that he'd only seen in movies. His mind raced as he tried to remember any details about bomb threats he'd heard in the past. This was no longer just a mission to find Sydney's locker. It had become a race against time to prevent a potential disaster. Nathan quickly memorized the locker's number and location, his brain switching to emergency mode. "We need to act fast, Lucas," he said, his voice steady despite the panic gnawing at his insides. He pulled out his phone, ready to dial for help. Every second counted, and Nathan knew they had to move quickly to ensure the safety of everyone involved. With shaking hands, Nathan dialed the police, his voice urgent as he reported the potential bomb in the school. "There's a ticking sound coming from a locker at Sunnyside Elementary," he explained, trying to provide as much detail as possible. The dispatcher's calm voice on the other end instructed them to evacuate immediately and wait for the authorities outside, far from the building. Nathan grabbed Lucas's hand, leading him to the nearest exit. "We have to get out now," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. They moved as quickly as they could, Nathan's heart pounding in his chest. Once outside, they didn't stop until they were a safe distance from the school, the looming building now a backdrop to their anxious wait for the police to arrive. Outside, Nathan paced back and forth, his mind racing. Turning to Lucas, he asked, "Where could your parents be right now?" His voice betrayed his nervousness, not just for the situation at hand, but for the boy who had shown such bravery. Nathan knew the gravity of what they had discovered, and now, as they waited in the dimming light, he couldn't help but worry about what came next. Lucas pointed across the road to a cozy-looking house. "My parents don't know I left," he admitted, his voice tinged with worry. Nathan nodded, understanding the gravity of Lucas's confession. The quiet of the evening seemed to underscore the seriousness of their situation. Together, they prepared to cross the road, ensuring Lucas's safe return home, unaware of the drama that was about to unfold. Nathan escorted Lucas across the road, taking care to watch for any oncoming cars. Reaching the front door, Lucas's mother opened it, her face a mix of relief and worry. "Lucas!" she exclaimed, her voice filled with concern. She reached out to hug him, visibly relieved to see her son safe. Nathan stepped back, giving them space, but stayed close, knowing the ordeal was far from over. As Lucas's mother tried to usher him inside, Lucas broke free and dashed back towards the school. "I have to stop Sydney," he shouted over his shoulder. His mother's face turned to panic, and she called out to him, but Lucas was already halfway across the road, his determination clear in every step. Screeching tires shattered the evening calm as Lucas ran across the road. His mother's panicked scream filled the air. The car, a police cruiser, came to a halt just in time, narrowly avoiding Lucas. The officers jumped out, their expressions a mix of concern and confusion. Lucas's mother, followed closely by Nathan, rushed over, her fear for Lucas's safety palpable. Lucas, Nathan, and his mother stood on the sidewalk, the police car idling nearby. "Lucas, you have to let the police handle this," Nathan said firmly, understanding the boy's fear but emphasizing the need for safety. Lucas's mother nodded in agreement, her eyes pleading with her son. Lucas, faced with the combined concern of Nathan, his mother, and the officers, hesitated, torn between his mission and the reality of the danger. The scene outside Sunnyside Elementary transformed rapidly with the arrival of police and SWAT vehicles. Lights flashed, and the sound of urgent commands filled the air. Nathan, Lucas, and his family watched as the officers coordinated their approach, the seriousness of the bomb threat prompting an immediate and escalated response from the authorities. Nathan stepped forward to quickly explain the situation to the arriving officers. He detailed the ticking sound from the locker and Lucas's account of Sydney's threat. His words were met with nods of understanding. The officers wasted no time in relaying the information through their radios, highlighting the imminent danger to ensure a swift action plan was put into place. Nathan then facilitated a crucial conversation between Lucas and the officers. Lucas, though nervous, recounted his story, providing vital details that could aid in the investigation. The officers listened intently, asking questions to clarify points. This exchange of information was critical, bridging the gap between a child's observations and the professional response needed to address the threat. Meanwhile, Lucas's parents oscillated between relief and worry. Relief that their son was safe, and worry over the implications of his actions. The gravity of their son's well-intentioned but dangerous decision weighed heavily on them, reflecting the complexity of their feelings in this tense moment. The tension peaked as the bomb squad arrived, signaling the operation's critical phase. Dressed in protective gear, the squad quickly assessed the situation before heading into the school. Their rapid deployment was a silent testament to the urgency and danger of the task at hand. Nathan, Lucas, and his family could only watch, hoping that the situation would be resolved safely and swiftly. Nathan, alongside the SWAT team, entered the school. Lucas stayed back, gripping his parents' hands, as Nathan led the team through the corridors. They reached the main entrance, which Nathan unlocked, guiding them to the locker he had memorized. The tension was palpable, each step echoing in the empty hallway as they neared the source of the alarm. The bomb squad set up, their focus entirely on the locker Nathan pointed out. The team prepared their equipment, communicating in hushed, urgent tones. Anticipation built among everyone present, the air thick with the weight of the moment. Nathan watched, heart pounding, as the squad made their final preparations to inspect the locker, knowing the outcome could change everything. The bomb squad approached the locker cautiously, employing tools to unlock it while maintaining a safe distance. Their movements were precise, calculated to minimize risk. Nathan held his breath, the silence of the onlookers punctuated only by the clicking of the lock. The tension rose as they worked, the possibility of danger looming large over the operation. The locker swung open, and the ticking sound grew louder, echoing through the silent hall. But instead of a bomb, the squad found a science project inside. The contraption, made with an old-fashioned alarm clock timer, ticked innocently. Nathan's relief was immediate, a mixture of disbelief and gratitude washing over him as the realization set in. There was no bomb, just a misunderstanding. Sidney and his parents, summoned by the police, arrived at the school amidst the unfolding drama. Questioned by the officers, Sidney explained the misunderstanding about his project, which he had described as explosive in his enthusiasm for the science fair. The situation clarified, relief spread among the responders and onlookers. Sidney's innocent intention had sparked a night of fear, now dissolving into a teachable moment for everyone involved. The air of tension dissipated as the true nature of Sidney's explosive project was revealed. A simple science experiment, misunderstood by an overheard conversation. The community's fear, sparked by the innocent mistake of a child's description, resolved into laughter and sighs of relief. The situation, ripe with potential for panic, was now a story of innocence and mistaken intentions. Relief spread like wildfire through the crowd outside Sunnyside Elementary. Parents hugged their children tighter, neighbors exchanged relieved glances, and first responders relaxed their stances. The absence of a real threat turned the night's events into a collective exhale for the community. In the midst of relief, there was a shared understanding of the importance of clear communication, especially in matters of safety. In the aftermath, Nathan's proactive actions were recognized by the community. From janitor to hero, his journey that evening underscored the impact one individual can have in averting potential crises. Applause and words of gratitude were directed his way, acknowledging his role in ensuring the safety of the school and its students. Nathan, usually in the background, was now celebrated for his courage and quick thinking. The event at Sunnyside Elementary became a moment of reflection for the community. It emphasized the importance of clarity in communication and the strength found in unity. The scare, although founded on a misunderstanding, highlighted the collective responsibility to protect and support one another. It was a reminder that, in times of uncertainty, coming together as a community is paramount. As the evening wound down, conversations turned to the future. How could the community prevent similar misunderstandings? How could they strengthen their bonds and ensure the safety of all members? The event at the school was not an ending, but a beginning, a catalyst for change and growth. Did you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation,